I don't know why I'm sharing this. Maybe because keeping it to myself is worse. I bought the house for $43,000. Cash auction. No inspection. No previous owner present. The bank just wanted it gone. And I should have asked why. I should have asked why a 3-bedroom house in a quiet street with a good roof and working plumbing had been sitting empty for 4 years, and why not a single other bidder showed up on auction day. But I didn't ask, because I was 29 years old and I thought I had just gotten the deal of a lifetime. I had not gotten the deal of a lifetime. The house was on Aldrin Street, number 14, end of a row of identical houses, except that mine was the one with no car in the driveway, no curtains in the windows, no sign that anyone had ever lived there and decided to stay. The bank's paperwork said the previous owner was a man named Gerald Hofstede, 71 years old. He'd bought the house in 1987 and never left. That last part turned out to be more accurate than I understood at the time. The first night, I slept on a mattress on the floor of the main bedroom. No furniture yet, just a mattress, a duffel bag, and a lamp I'd plugged into the wall near the door. I remember thinking the house smelled like old paper and something else, something I couldn't name, something that reminded me of the way a room smells when someone has been sitting in it for a very long time. I fell asleep around 11. I woke up at 2:17 in the morning. Not gradually, not from a dream, just awake, eyes open, staring at the ceiling. The lamp was still on, and the bedroom door, which I had left open, was now closed. I told myself I must have closed it before falling asleep and simply forgotten. That is what your brain does when it is not yet ready to consider the alternative. I opened the door. The hallway was empty. The house was quiet. I went back to sleep. But before I did, I noticed something that I pushed aside until I couldn't anymore. The lamp. I had placed it on my left, near the door. It was now on my right, near the window. I had not moved it. I moved my furniture in over the next 2 days and told myself the lamp was nothing. That I had moved it in a half-awake state. That old houses settle and shift and do things that seem strange until you understand the sounds they make. I understood the sounds mine made very quickly. There was a creak on the 3rd stair from the top that happened every night at roughly the same time. Not because of the house settling, because of weight. The first time I heard it, I went to the top of the stairs and looked down. Nothing. The second time I waited. I sat at the top of the stairs in the dark for 40 minutes. At exactly 1:42 in the morning, the 3rd stair creaked. Then the 4th. Then the 5th. Something was climbing the stairs toward me. I turned on every light in the house. I searched every room. I found nothing. But on the landing at the top of the stairs, on the wooden floor, just in front of where I had been sitting, there were 2 wet footprints. Not from outside, not tracked in from rain, just 2 damp impressions in the shape of bare feet, already drying, as if someone had been standing there close enough to touch me. I called a friend. He said old pipes leak. I called my mother. She said I was tired and stressed. I did not call the police, because what would I say? I started researching Gerald Hofstede. Gerald had lived in that house alone for 36 years, never married, no children. The neighbors described him as quiet, polite but private. He collected clocks. Every room had one, according to the woman next door who had been inside once, years ago, for a cup of tea. Gerald had died in the house, in the main bedroom, in the room where I had been sleeping. The bank had repossessed the house 6 months before his death. Debt. He'd stopped paying the mortgage. But here is the part that made me sit very still for a very long time. According to the neighbor, Gerald had refused to leave even after the bank took the title. He had simply stayed, continued living there as if nothing had changed. The bank sent people twice. Both times, Gerald answered the door, thanked them for coming, and told them he wasn't going anywhere. He died 4 months later, in his bed, in my room. And the neighbor told me one more thing. She said it with a strange expression, not sympathy, not a warning, but something quieter than both. She said, "Gerald always told me that house was his, that no piece of paper could ever change that he would be in that house long after everyone else was gone." I went home. I locked the door, and I tried to decide whether I believed in that sort of thing. 3 weeks in, I found the room. I want to be precise about this because precision is the only way I can make you understand how wrong it was. The house had 3 bedrooms. I knew this from the listing, from the floor plan, from the bank documents. But the hallway upstairs was 6 feet longer than it should have been. I only noticed because I was measuring for a shelf. And when I counted the distance from the main bedroom door to the bathroom, it was 6 feet more than the floor plan showed. I knocked on the wall at the end of the hallway. It was hollow. I found the door behind a bookshelf I had assumed was built into the wall. Old wood. No handle. Just a hole where a handle had once been. I pushed it open. It was a small room, maybe 8 feet by 10. No window, no light of its own. But it was not empty. There was a chair in the center of the room. Old, wooden, the kind you'd find at a kitchen table. It faced the door directly. And on every wall, floor to ceiling, there were clocks. Dozens of them. Every shape, every size. Round wall clocks, carriage clocks, mantle clocks, pocket watches pinned open. The kind of collection you build slowly over a lifetime. The kind you carry with you from every house you've ever loved. They had all stopped. Every single one. All showing the same time. 1:42. The exact time the footsteps had reached the top of the stairs. I stood there for what felt like a long time. Then I started to back out of the room. And that is when I heard it. From behind me. From the direction of my bedroom. The slow, heavy sound of footsteps walking down the hallway toward me. I turned around. The hallway was empty. But the footsteps kept coming. Step, step, step. And then they stopped. Right in front of me. I didn't move. I couldn't. I just stood there in that hallway, staring at nothing, feeling the air in front of me feel wrong in a way I cannot explain. Like the space directly ahead of me was occupied. Like something was standing close enough that I should have been able to see it. But there was nothing there. And then, the temperature dropped. Not slowly, not the way a room cools at night. All at once, like stepping into a freezer. And that was when I ran. I didn't grab my keys from the hook. I didn't close the front door behind me. I didn't put on my shoes. I just ran. Down the stairs, 3 steps at a time, through the hallway, out the front door, across the driveway in bare feet, and into my car. I locked the doors. I sat there in the dark with both hands on the wheel, breathing so hard I couldn't see straight. And I looked up at the house. Every window was dark, except one. The small window at the top of the stairs, the one on the landing, had a light in it, a faint amber glow. I had turned every light off when I left that hallway. I knew I had. And in that window, just for a moment, I saw a shape. Not clearly, not long enough to be certain, just the outline of something standing at the glass, looking out. I started the car. I drove until the house was gone from my mirror. I drove until the street was gone, until the neighborhood was gone, until I was on the highway with no destination and the radio on loud enough that I couldn't think. I didn't go back that night. I didn't go back the next night either. I never slept in that house again. I sold the house 4 days later. $38,000. A loss. I didn't care. I told the new buyers nothing. I'm not proud of that. I moved into an apartment across the city, and I did not look back. For 8 months I slept fine, told myself it was over, told myself I had left whatever was in that house behind me. And then last week, I was unpacking a box I hadn't opened since the move. Books, old cables, a few kitchen things. At the bottom of the box was something I did not pack, something I had never owned. A clock. Small, wooden, old, stopped, showing 1:42. And on the back, scratched into the wood, in the careful, deliberate handwriting of someone who had all the time in the world, 2 words: still here.